Angel Reese is garbage.
Stop telling me. Stop the gaslighting. Angel Reese is not a good basketball player. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Obviously, in the WNBA, there's only one star, Caitlin Clark.
All those layup areas, awkward as hell. No one shoots like that. Absolutely terrible.
Angel drives, miss. Angel Reese, miss. Angel, nothing but rim. My God, she jumps and gets shorter. Falls on ass 3 times.
Watch how she comes in on this layup. What is this? What is that? Again, that's the stuff I keep talking about. She just chucks it up. It looks so awkward, so uncoordinated.
Just moments ago, the story surrounding Angel Reese took a dramatic turn. And this time, it's not just coming from fan reactions. It's something that's becoming clearly visible in reality.
People are telling me is good, that she's good, that, oh my God, I can't believe the Atlanta Dream got Angel Reese. Why? Yo, this is going into year 3. What about those layups?
What we saw on the court didn't reflect dominance, star-level impact, or even solid performance. It was a sequence of missed layups, one after another. Open chances, easy finishes, the kind of shots expected from a top-tier player, simply weren't going down, and it all unfolded in real time.
Angel Reese should be ranked as a top 10 player in all of basketball, both real and pretend, right? According to ESPN, Angel Reese isn't even a top 20 player in a league filled with players who would struggle to beat a team of high school boys, is the reason ESPN had Angel Reese ranked at number 22.
This is going into year 3. What about those layups do you see that are any different than what you've seen before? They are worse than 5th grade. They are not good.
And now, everything is suddenly being put under a microscope. Questions are starting to pile up. How does a player labeled as the future face of the league struggle with such fundamental aspects of the game? How does someone elevated by media narratives as elite come up short when the pressure is highest? Meanwhile, ESPN's latest rankings have only intensified the conversation, sending a clear signal. Angel Reese is not where many expected her to be.
And it's not rocket science to see that since her arrival and the rest of that 2024 class, the WNBA has skyrocketed.
Caitlin Clark is the reason for the elevation of pretend basketball into the mainstream. Caitlin Clark is the reason that they are no longer making minimum wage.
And when you line that up against what Caitlin Clark is currently bringing to the game, the difference becomes hard to overlook. This goes beyond a single off night. It's becoming a broader conversation about expectations versus execution, hype versus actual production, and why the narrative around it is starting to shift. Angel Reese finds herself in a tough spot. Let's go through what actually unfolded on the court because that's where this discussion really begins to break down. At first glance, some may try to frame it in a positive light. 8 points, 7 rebounds, and a couple of steals on the stat sheet.
Camila Cardoso isn't showing any growth. Not a player to build an offensive around. She's relying on her size, but the actual skill is lacking. It's giving Tiara McCown and Kaylani Brown vibes. Terrible with size. Shout out to CJ So Foolish from the W360. Yeah, Camila Cardoso just doesn't look good. She doesn't look good. She doesn't look assertive. She doesn't look physical. She just looks like she's there.
But once you dig a little deeper, the picture becomes harder to overlook. She finished 2 for 7 from the field. And that's where things start to stand out. Because these weren't tough, heavily contested shots. These were layups, close-range opportunities right at the rim, the kind of finishes expected to go down at a high rate. Yet she struggled to convert them, even in situations where she had position, balance, and clear space to score. There were multiple possessions where the chances were as clean as they get, and still the finish didn't come. At one point, she missed so cleanly that the ball didn't even make contact with the rim. And that's where the discussion really shifts. It wasn't just an off-rhythm night. It raised real questions about execution in the most basic scoring situations and the impact it had on the overall flow of the game.
See, this is what Angel needs to work on. Part of her game right here is when she gets rebounds, we don't always need to just grab a rebound, turn around and chuck it back up. We can kick it back out. We got 3 blue shirts in the paint right now. Kick it out, reset, start over.
I give her the shout out and the kudos for the motivation to be like, you know what? I'm just going to outwork and go get all the rebounds. But she's done nothing for her game. She's done nothing to improve her game.
Even when she did manage to secure rebounds, typically considered one of her strengths, the next sequence often made things even more difficult for her team. Rather than slowing things down, resetting the possession, or kicking the ball out to an open teammate, she rushed second chance attempts in crowded situations. In traffic, with multiple defenders collapsing the paint, she still went straight back up, and the results didn't change. More missed finishes. And this is where the criticism people have been raising starts to come back into focus. For some observers, the concern isn't just about one game or one stretch. It's about a perceived lack of progress in her offensive development and finishing ability.
Angel Reese throwing her teammates under the bus, saying they're not good enough. Courtney Vandersloot slapping back when Angel Reese gets shipped off to Stripperville. Angel Reese highlights, Southside Sid highlights, crushing it on the court for the Atlanta Dream. Angel Reese, she's not even the best rebounder on her team, but we know she does a lot of other great stuff.
There hasn't been much visible improvement in footwork, finishing consistency, or in game adjustments. Instead, the same patterns seem to repeat themselves. Defensively, the moments weren't particularly strong either. There were stretches where she was blocked, bumped off balance, or beaten near the rim by smaller, less physically imposing players. And that's where the contrast becomes sharper. When a player is consistently framed as dominant, struggles finishing from close range, it naturally raises questions about how that label matches what's actually happening on the floor.
I mean, these tickets were going for $7-8, $6.50 in some places. I actually read somewhere that you could get a hot dog, a drink, a popcorn, and a ticket all for under $17. So on TV, it actually looks like there's more people in the building than it actually is. So I'm assuming that behind this backboard, you see that it's empty. The upper deck, you see that it's empty. But I would also assume that behind the basket that we're getting this camera angle from, it is empty. 1,500 people in the building.
Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the arena didn't really match the build-up either. Seats looked patchy. The energy wasn't what the hype suggested, and what was framed as a major moment didn't quite land like a star-driven event. Instead, it came off more like a reality check. And that's where the tone of the conversation begins to change. Because when easy opportunities aren't converted, efficiency drops, and the eye test looks worse than the box score, people naturally start reassessing the narrative around a player. At that point, it's no longer just about potential or projection. It becomes about whether the current level of production actually matches the expectations that were set. And from there, the discussion starts shifting into a more critical space.
Angel Reese should be ranked as a top 10 player in all of basketball, both real and pretend, right? According to ESPN, Angel Reese isn't even a top 20 player in a league filled with players who would struggle to beat a team of high school boys, is the reason ESPN had Angel Reese ranked at number 22.
This is going into year 3. What about those layups do you see that are any different than what you've seen before? They are worse than 5th graders. They are not good.
Because while that performance was already raising questions, the bigger surprise came when ESPN released its latest top 50 player rankings. And that's where the conversation took another turn. For months, Angel Reese has been positioned as one of the league's emerging faces, a player with superstar upside and franchise-level expectations. But in ESPN's list, she lands outside the top tier, coming in around the low 20s. And that gap is what's fueling the debate. Because when the public narrative builds someone up as a cornerstone talent, but the rankings place them closer to the middle of the pack, it creates a clear disconnect between perception and evaluation.
Caitlin Clark is struggling to sell tickets. The demand just isn't the same. Speaking of Angel Reese, though, ESPN ranks their face of the league. Unfortunately for Angel Reese, the polish seems to be melting off the turf.
When you compare that ranking with what we just saw on the court, the concerns start to line up. An elite player is expected to create offense, finish efficiently, and consistently impact the game. But instead, we saw missed layups, low efficiency, and little offensive growth. That's why the ranking matters. Her game is still limited in key areas. Rebounding is solid, but scoring is inconsistent, finishing is unreliable, and overall impact doesn't match a superstar level.